Breaking news out of the NFL, where Commander star receiver Terry McLaurin is officially holding out of training camp. That is the latest from our Jonathan Jones. McLaurin seeking a new deal, which is 1 year left on his current contract. Our Jonathan Jones says that he will be subject to $50,000 per day in fines for every day that he is absent. Terry McLaurin, named second team All-Pro last season, also led the Commanders in receiving yards in each of his first 5 years with the team. So let's welcome in our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, to tell us exactly what is going on now between Terry McLaurin and the Commanders. Their GM Adam Peters came out and said, look, we love him. We hope to work this out. That was just in the past 24 hours or so. And now you have this. Why is he holding out? Why come to that decision? Are they at a complete stalemate, JJ?
Certainly seems that way, right? Because you didn't want it to get to this point if you are either side. And Terry McLaurin, for his part, what he's saying is, I am the #1 wide receiver on this football team. I am a leader of this football team. Look, all these good times with the Washington Commanders right now, the NFC Conference Championship game and all that, like, I was here for the doldrums, right? I was here for the Dan Snyder regime, and I was sort of that voice and that leader for that team then. And he was rewarded with a 3-year contract back then. Well, this is the 3rd year of those 3 years. And now what has the wide receiver market done? Well, it's ballooned, and it's above $40 million in average annual value ever since Terry McLaurin signed that deal. What's working against Terry is that he's going to be 30 in a few weeks. Typically, that doesn't make you one of the highest paid players at your position, unless, of course, you're TJ Watt, for example. But we see right here the list, and Terry McLaurin slotting in where he is. The number really should be right there at the bottom, right? It should be that $29 million per year, because right below T. Higgins is Jalen Waddle at about $28 or so million. Those are #2 receivers, right? Tyreek Hill's the 1, Jalen Waddle's the 2. You see Jamar Chase at the top, he's the 1. T. Higgins is the 2. Well, Terry McLaurin is the 1 with the Washington Commanders. He's not up there. So that is his issue. This is going to be his last bite at the apple, right, as a 30-year-old wide receiver in the NFL, as these contracts have ballooned, and he wants to use the leverage that is available to him, because he's looking at the Commanders saying, okay, you went out and you got Deebo Samuel, and you went out and you traded for Marshawn Lattimore, and then you went out and you got Laramie Tunsil, and then just yesterday making it official, signing Von Miller at 36 years old. So how about me, right? You got the quarterback Jaden Daniels on the rookie deal. How about me? And so that is where things stand right now, that he is willing to incur losses of $50,000 per day to make his point. Should be a signal to the Commanders, to GM Adam Peters, that he's very serious about this.
So if it is that signal, and again, he's willing to eat 50 grand per day, I mean, how quickly, when you see these things go on in the past, does this speed up the negotiating process, or are the Commanders just going to stick to what they want to do, and they're just, all right, we'll fine you and let's see how this goes?
You know what? And that is a great question, because this is really the first test in Adam Peters' regime, right? He took over as general manager before the start of last season, and he used to be with the San Francisco 49ers. So there's a lot of familiarity with Adam Peters and veterans who are displeased with their contracts, right? It feels like every summer up until this summer, we've really talked about one of the star 49ers players who is not reporting to training camp or is holding in, for example, right? So he's used to that. But what has he done as a general manager when this happens? We haven't seen that yet. And these fines, while the Commanders cannot waive them, this is what the NFL CBA, this is what the players have agreed to. So there's no wiping away any of these fines. And not only that, Amanda, but if Terry McLaurin doesn't report by the start of the preseason games, if he misses a preseason game, he will then be fined 1/18 of his base salary for this upcoming season. So upwards of $800,000 he would be fined if he doesn't report by that point, along with the $50,000 per day. So this is really going to add up for McLaurin. And if you want to raise, well, you're going to have to pay some of that back after the several weeks that you've missed. So there is some incentive for Terry McLaurin to hustle up and get the deal done. There is a deal out there for him, but clearly not one that he finds he wants to sign.
And Terry McLaurin, 29 years old, and our research department has been hard at work looking at some of the other veteran receivers out there who, what happened when they hit that age 30 wall, and then what happened to their contracts. Taking a look at some of it, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs there. I mean, is this the reason for teams like the Commanders, when you do get these receivers, when they're about 29 or 30 years old, to not hand out those big contracts?
Yes, absolutely. That's it. That is what is working against Terry McLaurin. You see the regret from the Miami Dolphins, right? You've seen the regret from the teams that had ultimately brought on and it didn't work out. A Devontae Adams. Who did Devontae Adams replace? It was Cooper Kupp. Why is Cooper Kupp no longer with the Rams? Because at 30 plus, they didn't know what to do with his contract. Really, the only one that has, stayed the course, if you will, is a Mike Evans. And even that last year was a strange and interesting sort of negotiation. It's like when, you buy a house, for example, and you need to get a comp in the neighborhood to make sure that you are paying the right amount. Like when you get to 30, 31-year-old receivers who are still playing toward the top of their game, when they're a number 1 wide receiver, there aren't many to look around and say, oh, that's the comp. And so then it makes it easy for everyone, right? When Myles Garrett, getting closer to 30, goes out and gets $40 million per year, it's much easier for the Pittsburgh Steelers to have their 30-year-old pass rusher who compares very closely and similarly with Myles Garrett to pay him that same amount of money. But because you don't have those comparisons out there, and the ones you do haven't aged very well in terms of contracts, well, that's why you end up in the position the Commanders and Terry McLaurin are in right now.
Is this something that could potentially turn into a trade situation, JJ?
I am always hesitant, reticent to get to that point, just because, frankly, Amanda, we deal with this every year across various teams, right? There's always a star player or two at about 20 to 25 NFL teams who aren't that pleased with their contracts. You and I have been on here talking since June about a number of them, and then what has happened? They ultimately get the deal done, right? We do all the potential landing spots for these guys, and then they get the deal done. This is going to be a difficult negotiation. None will be more difficult than what the Cincinnati Bengals are dealing with Trey Hendrickson. I want to make that clear. That one, no one really knows how that one's going to end. This one, I still think ultimately both sides come to an agreement because both sides want essentially the same thing. Can't agree on the number. Maybe they'll get there on the number. But Terry McLaurin wants Washington. Washington's better with Terry McLaurin. I think something ultimately gets done there.
I was about to ask you for a prediction and a shot in the dark, and you gave it to me, saying that you do think something will get done. JJ, I appreciate it. We'll keep our eye more so on Trey Hendrickson as he is chilling in North Florida right now, not at Bengals training camp. But as JJ mentioned, we do have these holdouts every single year. As of right now, keeping an eye on those guys like Terry McLaurin, now officially holding out from Bengals camp. Could be fined $50,000 a day if he does not show up. Make sure to count on Sundays when the NFL returns to CBS on September 7th.